support. She's amazing.
Oh, thanks.
I miss her. I only see her on like Zoom anymore.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to see anybody next week because Natalie's going to be with you on Tuesday and Thursday, and I have her there again Saturday so she can see both parts of Sewing 101 with you. So I'm like, well, I'm an island next week. That's fine.
Yeah, you are. You are. All right. Anybody else coming in?
I don't see anybody, but
All right.
we'll
get started.
Find out.
Okay, so if y'all have your fabrics cut out, give Miranda a thumbs up. If you want me to show you how to cut, then give her a thumbs down. Okay, thumbs down. All right, I see you, Kristen. Okay, so probably doesn't matter what size fabric you start with. You know what? Give me a second. I'm gonna close the door. Lock the door anyway.
While she does that, show you this gorgeous white table. Jen painted the tables yesterday, at least some of them. Oh wait.
All right, y'all ready? So I have this random piece of fabric. I don't even know how wide it is, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to fold it. No, I'm not going to fold it. I'm just going to use an edge. So this edge here is fairly straight. And I'm going to cut a corner that looks sort of like a right angle. No, I guess it's better to do that better. Let's try that.
Can you scoot it into the frame?
Oh, thank you. You know what? I'm just going to scoot this whole thing over. There we go. All right, so I am not at a perfect right angle, so I'm going to fix that just real quick like. Close enough. Okay, so I have two edges that meet up in a right angle, a square. So what I'm going to do next is fold this diagonally. Now, what you're going to get is the length of this side here. So maybe I'll just give myself a little snip here. 1, 2, 3 inches. That's my 3-inch snip. Let's make that a little deeper. Now, the Japanese are known for their accuracy and their meticulousness. This is not a very meticulous method. I do recommend a rotary cutter and a quilting ruler, but if you don't have that, this is perfectly fine because most of the error in cutting will be hiding in your folds. It'll just make the folding a little bit less perfect, and that's okay. All right, so I've got my little 3-inch snip here, and I'm gonna fold this edge diagonally over to this edge so that those edges line up pretty well. And the thing that's really important about this is that the corner peak here is a perfect crease. Make sure that the crease is exactly split in half, or the crease splits the corner in half, okay? Then, where my little 3-inch snip is, I'm gonna fold that back again. And I'm gonna make sure that this edge lines up with that little snip, like that. And then I'm gonna use my handy little clips here. And I'm gonna cut right along that edge. Man, I hope this becomes a square. Otherwise it'll make a giant liar out of me. Oh, look at that, it's a square, fantastic. Okay, so that's a crooked square, but you get the idea. Now, if you want to tidy up the square, go for it. I think I will, because that's bugging me. Another thing you can do, if you don't have a rotary cutter, is you can create a square on Microsoft Word or Office or whatever it is that you have. Use the drawing program and just drag yourself a square, print it out, and cut it out and then use that. Okay, so there are two different kinds of folding techniques that we're going to talk about today. One of them is called maru, M-A-R-U, maru, and it means round in Japanese. Okay, so we're going to start with your fabric. So I have a right side of my fabric and my wrong side of my fabric. I'm going to fold my fabric right sides together diagonally. Okay, so just fold it together. Make sure that the edges are pretty good. Now, this square I actually did cut with a quilting ruler and a rotary cutter, so it is pretty darn accurate. And you're going to crease the snot out of this thing. Finger pressing is great, but if you have an iron that's nearby, you can always press it, but don't press on your rotary cutting mat. You will ruin it forever. Okay, so once you have your diagonal crease here, you're going to fold it again diagonally in half. Make sure that your edges match up real nice. Yeah, we're folding wrong sides together. Did I say right sides together? I probably did. Wrong sides together. So fold once diagonally, fold again. Okay. Then you'll notice that you've got this little open foldy here, right? So we're going to take each of those folds and open them out to the corner like so. And like so. Now you have a little petal. But we're not done yet. So I'm going to go over this once more. Unfold. So wrong side of the fabric, right side of the fabric. I fold it wrong sides together diagonally. Crease it really well. Finger pressing is just fine. Then you're going to fold it again diagonally. Finger press that edge really well. And then open up this fold. So you'll have a raw edge side. You'll have a single crease side. And because this is a triangle, the only side left is this guy. Okay, so we're going to open this guy up by folding each of these corners out again to match the bottom corner. Okay. So here's where the pinching comes in. You're going to pinch this right here with your clip, or you can use a pin. I'm going to use a clip. Now, there's two more ways we can treat this petal. One way is we can just go ahead and stitch this side up. So I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate that real quick. So what I have is this front here. This is going to be the front of your petal. Okay, this is the back of your petal. No one is going to see the raw edge part. So we're going to pinch that. And I'm just going to start with a whip stitch. And notice that I'm going very close to the edge of my fabric. You don't want to go too deeply into your stitches because that will change the shape of your flower. It'll make it smaller too. But you want to make sure that these are really secure. And so you're going to make small stitches, nice and tight, kind of close together. And so the history behind Kanzashi, excuse me, is, the Japanese are very frugal and they're very conservative, meaning like ecologically conservative. They don't waste a whole lot. They live on an island, right? So anything that they have, they use and they reuse over and over again. So these flowers are traditionally cut from old kimonos, and they reuse them to make the hair dressings that geisha girls, geisha ladies wear in their hair. And they're extremely intricate and they're just beautiful. And I encourage you to just look up Kanzashi on the internet and see what magic unfolds before you, because it is just astonishing how intricate these things can be. So having said that about kimonos, they do tend to use silk, and they, for that reason, are thinner fabrics. And so while most of you are probably working with cotton, which is fine, you may also want to consider using something a little slinkier, like rayon, organza, maybe a little bit of thin satin, maybe some silk, but something thinner rather than something thicker. You certainly don't want to, well, I don't want to discourage you from using denim, but you probably won't get the same results. Unless you make a gigantic denim flower. So I'm now going all the way up. I've gone all the way up one side, and I'm going to go about halfway up the other, the finished side, the creased side. All right, just to see what that gets me. And I'm going to close off my stitches by tying a knot. And I'm going to snip my thread. And however far down the side here you stop stitching will allow you to open your petal up a little bit more. So here's what I finished with. And then I can use my thumb and my fingers to kind of push out the petal a little bit to make it round. Maru. Okay, so that is a single petal. Any questions? Still sewing? Okay, when everybody,
yeah. If we want to make the petal bigger, wider, do we sew less up that second side or more?
To make it wider, we sew up less, because
okay.
this is what's stopping you from opening it quite so much. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You're answering a chat, aren't you?
No, I'm asking because I want to know.
There you go. Yeah, good question. So the further up the side you sew, the tighter your petal will be, and the less you'll be able to kind of manipulate the wideness or the roundness of that petal. So there will be some projects that have a skinny petal like that with a crease in the middle, which is fine. You may also see some that are pushed in and rounded out, which is also kind of cool. This kind of gives you like the traditional flower look too, right? It looks like a flower petal. It's nice and round. And the more you work with it, the more that crease will go away and it becomes a little bit rounder and rounder. So imagine if this is a single petal, you could probably do at least 5. You can at least do 5 petals in a flower. Okay. Yes, we'll do the stitch one more time. Are you talking about the whip stitch? Okay, so the whip stitch is, let me put a knot in my thread here is my fancy thread trick. Milena knows this one. Ta-da! So a whip stitch is just around the edges. So you always you stitch from the same side. So I'm stitching from the back as the front is facing me. I'm not changing direction at all. And I'm always going a little bit further up than the last stitch, but not a whole lot, because I still want this flower to stay together. So from the back, little tiny stitch.
Hey, Jen, I have a customer coming in, so I'm going to have to step away.
Okay. And so that is a whip stitch. I see no benefit in doing any other kind of stitch on this because this is really secure. It's not going to come apart on you. So that's a whip stitch. I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. And I'm going to set this aside on its side so that I can show you the same folding technique with a different stitching technique. And I'll show you why we're doing it differently after you see the results. So you can make these Kanzashi flowers in pretty much any size. I actually made one for a customer like 10 years ago that had a 12-inch petal. It was gigantic and it was made of satin and it was just unwieldy. But that's what she wanted, so I did it. All right. By the way, when I hand sew, I generally like to double up on my thread because it just makes things stronger and it also kind of saves me some time, especially if you're sewing a button. If you have your threads doubled, one stitch with a doubled thread equals 2 stitches with a single thread, so it takes you half the time. Now, please don't feel like you have to finish a petal, in the time that we have. You're not going to finish this project in the time that we have. This is just a technique, but I will show you what you can make with them when we're done. So we're going to set that guy aside. Go ahead at this point, guys, and take out another square. Whatever you're sewing right now, you can start the next one. And I'm going to see if I can share my screen. So while you guys are getting set on that, I'm going to pop up some examples of Kanzashi. Images, here we go. Oh yeah. Gorgeous. Give me 1 second. My internet is really, really slow today for some reason. Hopefully you guys aren't experiencing a lag on your end. Okay. Yes, this is great. Okay, here I go. Host disabled attendee screen sharing. All right, well, we'll have to wait a second. I am no longer the host. Oh, there she is. Yay! Can you allow me to screen share, my dear?
Do you know how?
No, but I tell you what, if you can do it on your end, just Google Kanzashi and go to images. And there's an image of a hairpiece that is very, very intricate. Tell you what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do some old school, new school stuff. Here we go.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, can y'all see that? So these are actually, I think they're wire edged. So we are not gonna get this detailed, but, well, ooey. Let's try this again. Here's what I was trying to look at. So each of those petals, and it looks like there are petals within petals, each of those is a square of fabric, probably silk. Here's an example of one that is, these are actually double layered folded squares, a little different than what we're doing today. but you can see how just a very simple folding technique will get you a really beautiful flower. Here's a cool one here. Ooh, that's really pretty. So the stuff that you see right here, these are also double layered, white on the top, black on the bottom. These little blue doodads, they're just little like flower arrangement things that you can buy. They're picks. Let's see what else we can see. Ooh, here's a really pretty one. So each of those again is a petal, a square of fabric. This right here, this one here, the pink and red one, this is actually what we're doing at the moment. This is the maru, the rounded one. And what other pretties can I show you? Let's see. Here's a very simple one. And you can see here, well, can I see? Where's my thing? Here we go. You can see here that that is what our project looked like before we rounded out the top edge, right? So that's what we would have done without rounding the edge. That's what we would have gotten. Whoops, that did not work. Here's a chrysanthemum. That's really pretty. And then you can go crazy and do different shapes. So here's an angel. I know that I've seen like butterflies and lobsters. Here's a geisha with all of her beauties. Here's some goldfish. These are like little brooches. And what else we got? Oh, here's a wing. That's really cool. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do with this. Basically any design or shape that you can imagine, you can probably do with a Kanzashi. So there you go. Back to work. Just kidding. All right. Okay, so same folding technique, but we're going to do a different finishing technique. So we're going to start with the wrong side up, fold it in half diagonally, give it a nice firm crease. Fold it again, diagonally, nice firm crease. And then fold those edges open again, one at a time. Okay, so I'll do that once more. Right side down, wrong side up, fold it diagonally, crease, crease, crease. Fold it again diagonally, crease, crease, crease. And then the double folded edge here, this is what we're going to fold back on itself. So we're going to fold it open to the bottom corner, and then fold it again to the bottom corner. And we're going to hold on to the edge that has the three little points. Okay, at this point, no pun intended, this is where you want to clip it because we're going to do something a little bit different on the back. Actually, we don't have to clip it. I lied. We don't have to clip it yet. So you've got this little folded guy right here. What I want you to do next is open it up like this. So you have a tiny little square with a fold down the middle. Okay. So here's what we started with. Here's the three corners that I was pinching, but we're going to open that up so it looks like a little square with a fold down the middle. We're going to put that face down on your table. Okay. And we're going to fold back the corners until they touch in the middle of your project. So I'm going to clip that real quick and show you what the other side looks like. So the other side should look something like that. Okay, so we're just folding the corners parallel to that center folded edge right here. Okay, so turn it over, Fold those little corners back. Once you get those folded, you're going to fold it all back on itself. And you have the same look that we started with this guy. Pretty much the same look. But the only difference is you're going to have a whole lot more room behind the petal to do other things. Okay, so now that you've got those corners folded, go ahead and clip them or pin them so they don't get out of your way. Take your hand needle, and we're going to do the whip stitch again, but only on this folded edge here. Okay, just along this edge. So I'm going to start now. I'm kind of OCD about my thread not showing, so I always start my stitch inside a seam like that, so I can hide my knot. But I'm also OCD about where the stitch appears when I start. So I'm going to put my needle in between my fold, in between my crease, and pop it out right at the corner of that fold. Okay. And of course, my thread is not cooperating. Friday, it's a full moon. There we go. Goodness gracious. Okay, one stitch. So this time, because I've started my first stitch on the top, my whip stitch will always start on the back. And as you're sewing this, try to make sure that that folded edge stays folded. So I might want to just clip that here down at the bottom. All right, so my first stitch goes through that point there and then kind of angled so I can get out of my own way. And the closer to the edge you sew, the tidier this is going to be. It's going to look really pretty on the back. Not that anybody's going to see the back, but if they do, like I always say, they probably need to buy you dinner because they're all up in your business. Okay, that far. Then remove my clip and just keep on going. Uh-oh, I'm getting question marks. What are you missing? You'll have to type it. I think my tech support abandoned me for the moment.
Oh, can you hear me or no?
Oh, I can now, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I have it all thinged. I just need to look at it. Just
Sure.
I'm kind of visual. Okay.
So here's the front. The back has the folded in edges, and then I just sewed those folded edges.
Can you show me the other side again?
Yeah, this one?
Yes.
So
Okay. Mine doesn't look like that. Okay.
Okay, does it look like, okay, let me refold another one. And let's make sure that you're where you need to be. So right side's up, wrong side's up, diagonal. You got that much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Crease, crease, crease. And then fold it again, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Crease, crease, crease. Whoa, shake the whole table there, Jen. And then you're going to fold this guy back. Yeah? Okay,
Yes.
and then the other guy. So at this point, this may be where I might have lost you. Give me just a second. I've got somebody coming to the door for some reason. Hang on. Stand by, guys. And I'm back. All right. So at this point, you have your 3 folds here looking at you. And then on the back, you have the raw edge and the 2 folds. So this is the side that you want to tuck in. So, oopsies, sorry. So I'm going to open this up from the raw edge side. I'm holding it so that I can see the raw edges. Open it up so that you have what looks like a square. But I'm going to position it like a diamond so I know exactly where to fold. These 2 guys are what I need to fold in. And I'm going to fold them so that the corners meet right at the center. And then I'm going to fold that whole thing back. But I'm going to move my fingers out of the way so y'all can see kind of what's going on here. And then fold it like that. And so it looks like a little boat now, right? So the bottom of the boat is what gets the whip stitch. All right. Okie doke. Let me go ahead and whip stitch. Oh, I already have one finished. Haha, how about that? Now, the back of my boat, or the bottom of my boat rather, is finished, so that's cool. When this becomes the petal of my project, this part here, the raw edge part, is going to be where the button is or where the center of my flower is, right? So I could sew this edge down just a little bit, but I don't need to. And because I'm lazy, and since I don't need to, I'm not gonna. But I am gonna tie this off. So I'm gonna take my needle and just stitch just under my last stitch. And before I close that loop off, I'm gonna put my needle through it like I'm tying a shoe so I can make a knot. Boop. And then I'm gonna snip it and I'm gonna set it aside. So that's 2 different methods for the maru petal. Okay, this one gives you a little bit more flexibility to make it rounder. So you can have a flower that has nice round petals. This method gives you a really skinny petal that you can jam a whole bunch into to make a flower like a chrysanthemum that has really skinny petals. But you can still kind of round it out a little bit, see? By just pushing your thumb in there and giving it a little roundy edge. But it's not as round as the other one. So that's kind of nice. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you guys a second to catch up with that last one. All right. Give me a thumbs up when you guys are ready. Yeah? Okay, cool. All right. So like I do in my life, I'm just going to clear away all the stuff that I don't need. Actually, I like looking at these guys. I'm going to keep these here. Okay. The next technique is a folding technique called ken. In Japanese, ken means sword. And so this one is going to give us a little pointier version, which you may recognize as something you've seen earlier today because I showed you some examples. So actually I'm going to use a different fabric. I'm going to use this guy just so we can distinguish the two techniques. So again, we're going to start with our fabric wrong side down. Sorry, wrong side up. Fold it in half. This looks familiar already, doesn't it? Crease, crease, crease. Fold it in half again. Crease, crease, crease. And then super easy, fold it in half again. So guess what? That looks like one of the petals that we saw in one of the earlier examples. I'm sorry, the leaves that we saw in one of the earlier examples. Okay. So this one's a little bit easier. Gives you a different look. But if you look at it head on, it kind of looks like a sword. It's pointy, it's sharp. Okay. Now there's a couple ways we can finish this. We can finish it just like we finished this guy by just stitching the raw edges with a whip stitch. Okay. Or we can finish it like this guy. Okay. So I'll do both. I'm just going to give this a really quick whip stitch. First I'll clip it. Not being so OCD with my knots this time because I'm just going to do this really quickly just to show you. Now, if as you're doing these little flowers and petals and leaves, you discover that folding it a certain way gives you a result that you love, then do that. This is not set in stone. This is kind of how art develops, right? You just kind of serendipitously, you know, run into things that work and you hone that technique and lo and behold, you've discovered something new. You can be an explorer. All right, so there's my Ken whip stitched. I whipped my Ken. I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere. And then I'm going to knot it off. All right, so I've got 4 petals under my belt. Those are looking pretty cool. I'm very happy with that. That looks pretty cool. I'm digging it. All right, so I'm going to set my Ken aside and I'm going to start my second one. So Ken number 2, same thing. Fold it in half diagonally, crease, crease, crease. Fold it in half diagonally, crease, crease, crease. Fold it again diagonally, crease, crease, crease. Now you could theoretically do this again. And traditionally, they use tweezers to do this because sometimes their petals are incredibly small and they're using incredibly thin fabrics. So it's very difficult to manipulate this stuff with your fingers. So not only do they use tweezers, they use very specialized tweezers. They use tweezers with the tip that looks a little bit like the end of a needle. That's how fine these things are. And they are specialty tools for this technique. You could probably get away with using eyebrow tweezers, but clean them first. Or you can just use pens. And sometimes people will make these and they'll use a cork board. And as they're folding it, they'll just, you know, stab their work into the cork board to hold things together. When they get to the point where they need to close off the back, traditionally they use rice glue. So there's really not a whole bunch of sewing that goes into these things. It's mostly glued, but it's rice glue. It's starch. And they have this like mat of rice glue that's also, you know, particular to this technique. And then they just like stick the petal on there and let it absorb, and then they take it off and they keep going. So I don't have rice glue, but I do have a hot glue gun, which you can totally use. I know, I said it. I'm sorry. A hot glue gun from a seamstress. No. I am like the purist about hot glue guns and fabric, but in this case, I am willing to make an exception because I ain't got no rice glue. Okay, so I've got my Kens folded, and the next thing to do, the next technique rather, is to literally cut it into the shape of your boat. We cannot fold this back again like we did with this guy because there aren't two folds to have. There's only one, right? So I'm going to cut this like a boat. So the orientation of this guy is folds facing up. That's the top of your boat. So the bottom of my boat will be here, which means I need to cut that little triangle off. So I'm going to flip it that way. Cut it off. And so this gives you a little bit more room on the back of your petals to jam them together to make a chrysanthemum or to make a brooch that sits flat on a surface. Okay? But once again, you're still going to do a whip stitch. So I'm gonna be a little OCD this time. I'm gonna hide my knot. It doesn't matter which end of the edge you start sewing on. So whichever edge you get is fine by me. I had a friend who lived in Okinawa, and before she moved, she sent me 2 or 3 vintage kimonos. And I've been sitting on them for like 3 years, and I'm trying to decide what to do with them, but they're not amazing colors. They're like fall colors, like brown, but like 70s brown. So I kind of want to chop them up and use them, but I don't know for what yet. So they're still sitting in my closet. All right, so I'm at the top of my back of my boat, and I'm going to knot it off. And trim it. Okay. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals. Now this, just because they're all different and they're all different sizes and colors and stuff, I wouldn't put these together in a flower. Not all different like this. But what I'm going to show you how to do is how to attach them so that you can make them into a flower. And it's very easy. So once again, I'm going to give you guys a second to catch up. And while I'm letting you catch up, I'm going to grab a button. I'll be right back. All right. Kristen is all about hot glue guns. Right on. I wouldn't recommend them for pajama pants, but hey, knock yourself out.
You'd be surprised what I can make with Velcro and fuse tape.
That is funny. My tech support must be busy. There she is. Oh, she's doing a wedding dress. Nice. Okay. Oh, I guess I need a knot at the end of my thread. Ah. So Wendy, I have to tell you that I've been using the Wendy technique a lot that you showed me how you like crimp the threads to jam them through the eye of your needle. I think of you every time I thread a needle, girl. Okie dokie. Is it a good time for me to start? No, not yet. We have time. When you guys are ready for the next step, just give me a big thumb and we'll go ahead and move on. Oh, shoot. Don't mean to make you guys seasick. Sorry about that. I'm just going to prepare a couple of more red petals just for grins. And I'm using the Maru technique. You can actually do these too for, and we did this a couple years ago for Fiesta. You know, remember those days when we used to like have Fiesta? Do you guys remember that? We did this for a embroidery project. And so we did a little bit of Kanzashi, and we did a little bit of hand embroidery, and we made flower brooches for Fiesta that had ribbons hanging off of them and stuff. They were just gorgeous. So maybe if we can get back to normal and have Fiesta again, maybe I'll offer this class because it's a lot of fun. And you can make them as jazzy as you want, which is cool. Okay, I have enough Maru petals that I'm pretty happy with that. So, Wendy says, yes! About the Fiesta or about the class? All right, so I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's pretty good. All right, I'm just going to go with these guys. So I have, what, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 petals, all with the Maru technique. And all you're going to do is daisy chain these things, but at the tip, the inside tip. Okay, so here's my folded edge with the 3 little folds facing me. I did not sew these together because I'm just, quickly running through this because we've only got 10 minutes left. But I'm going to do a single whip stitch through the corner of my first one. And I'm going to kind of aim the stitch toward either the point or the back of my flower or my petal. So in other words, don't make your stitch visible on the top, okay? Aim towards the corner or aim underneath. So I'm just gonna go underneath because that's easier. Okay, so there's my single whip stitch. Then I'm gonna take my next petal and do the same thing. Take a stitch, make sure that those guys touch. So this is a single stitch. As you attach these guys, you're just doing a single stitch. You're not doing a whip stitch through each of them. All right, and I'm going to add my third petal. And notice too that I'm starting my stitch where the fabric would touch the previous petal. So I'm always starting on the bottom and going to the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tuck that guy in just a little bit. And here's my last one that's already been stitched together. If you guys can hold up your hand and tell me how many petals you have ready. 3, 2, 1, 3, 4, 2. Okay, that's okay. Let's just do your 2 together, because you can always add more later. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I've got my 5. So now we're going to hold them all together. So that they are facing the same direction, and that doesn't that look pretty? Already looks pretty. I just love this project. It's so much fun. So I've got 5 together. I'm going to go ahead and finish attaching them by pretending that this petal is now going to be attached to this petal. So that's just what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to whip stitch again. It's not going to be as pretty because I didn't stitch all the backs of mine. So I think what I'll do is I'll just clip them. Yep, definitely a lot easier if you sew them first. Okay. Well, they're now all attached. So what I'm going to do next is attach the backs together. So I've got them all stacked up like that. I'm going to flip my stack over. So even if you have 2 petals, you can still practice this. So even with your 2 petals, just flip the whole thing over and take the first 2 petals that you encounter, all right? And you'll want to sew the 2 closest folds together. So these 2 folds are going to get sewn together. So I'm going to just pinch those. I'm going to do this multiple times, so if you didn't catch it on this round, there's a couple more petals to go. And I'm just going to tack them together. Yes, I am using the same thread. I did not cut it yet. All right, so those are tacked together. And then I'm going to go to my next set of petals and attach these 2 guys together. Still the same thread. Notice that I'm not pulling them real small. You want to give yourself a little bit of give. I'm going to flip it over and check and see how I like that. Yeah, that's all right. That's looking good. All right, next set of petals. Just these little corners. And then this guy gets attached to this guy, but this guy's already sewn, so he's going to cause me some problems if I don't snip those stitches. Because I want all of these petals to be the same style, so I'm just going to get rid of this guy. All right. And finally, my last petal comes round. Oops. I need to release these guys too. Last petals touch. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. So the back is going to look like a hot mess, and that is okay. Because the front, you can flip it. Come on, flip it. So the front looks like a hot mess too. And the reason that is because I didn't sew all of the backs of these petals. And I think I made my stitches a little bit too snug. So let me loosen those up a little bit. There we go. All right, getting there. Okay. Yeah, I definitely needed to sew the backs. And I think in this case, it would have benefited me to sew them all like this, because I'm trying to lay this on a flat surface and it's just not sitting right. However, if this were going to be stitched into a project, you can always just kind of clap these two together. I say that. Yeah, definitely sew the backs. And then, Kristen, you're gonna love this part. Hot glue time. Boop. Throw your button on there, hot glue it. Hey, that kind of looks like a plumeria, actually. I'm rather digging that. Huh. So if I had used white on the outside and yellow on the inside, that would be a very pretty flower. Cool. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an experiment here. I have a little piece of very flimsy fabric cut out. This is like a charmeuse or rayon crepe or something. It's very, very drapey. It's nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the Ken technique. Yeah, I have to do the Ken technique because this is really going to be a lot of layers. So I'm going to put my outer fabric for the petal. By the way, I'm doing a double color. Right side up, and then my other fabric is going to be right side. So it's wrong sides together, rather. Sorry, wrong sides together. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing. Oh, I think I lied. Hang on, let me think about this. Yep, I lied. I lied. How did I lie, though? Nah, I got to do it. I got to do it again. Sorry. And 1, 2, 3. So there's my Ken. Taking that. Another Ken. 1, 2, 3. There's my second Ken. And I'm going to put this guy inside of this guy. Normally, I would take a little better care trying to get my edges tucked in. So I think I'll do that. There we go. That looks really pretty. That's cool. I like that. So there you go. All right. I'll let you guys finish the last step and then we will have to say bye-bye. Ooh. Was this fun or was this frustrating? Oh, Wendy, nice. Yeah, that looks great. No, it looks good. The folds are good. So the way you have yours arranged right now, if you added more, it would be a really nice tight chrysanthemum or like a dahlia or something. You could even do like larger petals on the outside of that flower. So you could use like a 4-inch square. You can make little tiny 1-inch squares, 2-inch squares. yeah, just have fun with it. And this is a great way to get rid of your scraps. Like you could make a ton of petals and just arrange them however the universe decides that they need to be. So if you want to make a lobster, make a lobster. All right. When y'all get a second and you have your petals ready to display, I'm going to take a little screenshot so that we can share this with the world. So whenever you guys are ready. And if you don't want to share it with the world, you can always just do this and cover the camera with it. Or I should go cover the camera with it. Should be the pretty side though. Cover the camera. Elena, how's it going?
I was only able to make 2 petals.
That's okay. That's okay. Can you show them a little closer? Oh, those are pretty. Yeah. Very nice. I like that. Katrina, how about you? Ooh, different colors. Very nice. Kristen, let's see it. Oh, very good. Come on, Kristen. Show us. Yeah, those look good. Yeah, nicely done. Okay, everybody put their things in the camera, and I'm going to take a screenshot. All right, everybody smile. 1, 2, 3. Yay! Thank you. All right. So we have exhausted the planned freebies, but Miranda has been busy on Pinterest today, so I'm excited to see what she's pinned for me. But we'll continue doing these freebies for a while. Somebody told me that they heard this announced on Texas.
NPR.
Yeah, because I put it on the community events calendar. I also, I sponsor them too. But I put it on the community events calendar because it's free. So they will advertise these for free. So you guys keep coming and hopefully we can have a class of like 7,000 people. It'd be awesome.
You guys have little fun projects you're interested in, feel free to shoot them at us.
For sure. Oh yeah, by the way, side thought. If you have any of these left over, you can use these to make even more corner bookmarks like we did last week. They're square. Ooh. Everybody gets a square for Christmas. All right, gang. Thank you so much for joining us again. And you guys be safe and wash your hands, and we'll see you one way or the other very soon. All right. Thank you. Thanks, tech support. Good job.
Yeah. Okay. Stop recording.